Hi guys. In the past few days we've seen two movies that we're going to discuss today. The first is Pitch Perfect 2, and the second is Poltergeist. Connor, tell us a little bit about the plot for
Pitch Perfect 2? Which one is
Pitch Perfect 2. Let's start with that.
Alright, Pitch Perfect 2 is a movie about a bunch of hot girls and then a couple fat girls who are an a cappella group, and they join singing contests and shit, and they learn to work as a team in singing, and they love boys, and they don't do much else really, to be honest. One of them has not a record deal. She gets one later, but of course, but
she gets an internship.
But she gets an internship at the morgue, and
record company, not the morgue.
I was seeing if anyone would get that. No, she gets an intern at the record company, and she eventually gets a record deal with a new girl who takes over the main character mantle of Pitch Perfect. So, Aidan, what did you think of Pitch Perfect 2? Also, they did a singing contest against some German people.
In all honesty, it wasn't that bad. It's another movie like we saw. What the fuck was that movie? The one with the woman from Modern Family. Hot Pursuit, right? We saw that, and I mentioned that it wasn't aimed at us, but it was like a shitty movie, but it wasn't aimed at us. This movie
was okay and not aimed at us.
It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't aimed at me. There were a few moments when I laughed, but overall it was kind of just mediocre to me.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of like fat chick jokes and stuff.
A lot of racism. Yeah. Surprising amount of racism in that movie.
Like, Consuelo, what are you doing right now? And she's like, I'm hopping the border, you see? And it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, they said
I thought I saw this in Hot Pursuit last week.
Yeah, but, you know, overall it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what was your least favorite and favorite part of the film?
There were some songs that were like groaners when they were doing them.
Oh yeah.
It just was not good. That would be my least favorite part, obviously. My favorite part, it's hard for me to pick a favorite part really, because nothing appealed to me all that much. I don't know. There were some songs that were kind of alright, and I liked the how the Germans all dressed like fetishists. What were your least favorite and favorite parts?
My least favorite part, I agreed with you. I thought some of the songs were kind of bad, like the part where they're like, you gotta do like 90s hip hop and stuff, and that scene in particular. I thought the Dave and Buster's thing was kind of funny-ish, like a $52,000 Dave and Buster's gift card is just kind of funny because whatever, but I mean, like, that's when they were really butchering songs, that scene. They're like 90s hip hop, and they did like MC Hammer and stuff.
It was kind of annoying that they would never
like one-sided. They were all like
They would never finish songs either. They would start songs, get like 2 words in, and then they'd switch over to something else.
They finished a couple, like when she was,
like
the fat girl was trying to date workaholics or whatever. I think they finished.
Yeah, I forgot about. Yeah, but I mean, for the most part, like they had some alright songs in there that I would have been more interested to hear, but then they'd play like the first 3 words, like especially in that Dave and Buster's scene, where songs would go like 3 words and then it'd be like into something else. I'm like, is this the same song?
And they could also just magically make like whole a cappella arrangements in like seconds. And other times there were training montages where they're like, I can't figure out this routine. That's just as good as the routine they improvised 3 seconds ago when they finally do finish it.
Yeah.
It's kind of contrived at that.
A few times.
But I mean,
more than a few times.
Whatever. Honestly, there's not much to complain about. I can see a crowd that would really like this. Like, I watched the first one too with my my friend and his sister really liked the movie. which is understandable because, you know, this movie, like Hot Pursuit, is aimed for women, but the difference is Hot Pursuit was kind of terrible.
Cringeworthy.
Yeah, it was cringeworthy. When this movie, I can see the audience really liking it, especially if you're into music and
yeah, I mean,
or this type of music and like the poppy music and shit. So, I mean, in a respect, it was good. I mean, the comedy was funny enough and definitely not aimed towards me, so I'm not going to complain. Oh my god, that was bullshit. Sorry,
I thought some of the race train of thought.
My favorite part of Pitch Perfect? I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, it wasn't for me. I guess it wasn't terrible. That's my thoughts. My favorite part, if I had to pick one, I thought some of the comedy was alright.
The racist stuff.
Most of the racist stuff was kind of funny.
I'm really surprised that a woman or a movie aimed at
women was kind of. They did some things that you wouldn't expect.
Like the.
Because this movie's made for liberal-ass women. Maybe it was like supposed to be like guilty pleasure racism, if you know what I mean. Like,
what it was.
Like, oh, I'm not supposed to believe this. This is naughty of me.
Like they
I'm gonna have to read Teen Cosmopolitan for a month.
The movie ends with like a national face-off, and everyone's racist stereotypes.
Oh,
and the commentators are saying racist things. They're like, the people from Istanbul are fucking terrorizing the stage. I'm like, what? What?
Afghanistan's jihading the stage.
Oh my god, those Chinese slave laborers just built sweatshops all over the stage.
Mine's a blood diamond scene. Wow, the Syrian blood diamonds are coming up on top this time.
Okay, so...
It's true, though.
Yeah, I know. I saw it. So, would you recommend this movie?
I mean, if you're a woman or you like the first Pitch Perfect, for sure. I don't mean that in like a general sense. I mean, if you're a woman that's kind of into like these musical movies and stuff. Or if you're a dude that's into these, you know? I mean, I bet there's men who would like to go there with their girlfriends because it's a somewhat tolerable movie.
Yeah, it's pretty
something
tolerable.
like that. Or
if you have someone who wants
maybe you're just into Pitch Perfect. You know, that's not. You know, it wasn't terrible enough that I'm gonna be harassing you for it. But I mean, it's not my personal. You know, I'm not gonna get a boner over it. But it was okay. You know.
It's good enough that I wouldn't mind going to see it with someone who wanted to see it, but I wouldn't go...
Or Redbox it or whatever.
Yeah, I guess. Whatever. Doesn't matter. I'd say a yes on that.
Alright, let's go into Poltergeist. So, Aidan, tell us the plot of Poltergeist.
It's an exact remake of the first movie, except with jump scares. So let me go over the movie a little bit. There's a family that moves into a new house, and the little girl gets taken by ghosts, and they have to go into the demon world and save her. And I mean, it's pretty much a shot-for-shot remake of the first movie, except worse in every aspect. Connor, what did you think of the movie?
You know, like you said, basically very similar shot-to-shot remake. My biggest problem with the movie, I mean, I guess the biggest problem with it you can say is it was unnecessary, you know? Like, a question like, why was this made comes to mind, you know? And the answer's obviously money, but, yeah, I mean, I don't think this movie did a lot of things right. Like, in the way of jump scares, they even failed. Like, they just... Like, jump scares are meant to be cheap ways to scare an audience, but their jump scares were horribly done. Like, they weren't scary. They didn't even get me on a jump. Like, sometimes jump scares, like, even if I know they're coming, it's just so loud and, like,
fucking
you know?
Lazarus Effect.
Like, Lazarus Effect, they were so effing loud, I would jump. Like, I would see them coming, I'm like... 3, 2, 1, and I would still jump over them, not because I was scared, but because it was like
so fucking
fucking loud, and it would just be screeching, you know, and it's spine tingling and terrible. That's what a jump scare is supposed to be. Like, I mean, if I had to put a definition to jump scare, you know. But they failed at that. They did really bad jump scares, and when jump scares is what you have to add compared to the original version, that's kind of a bad thing, you know? I mean, it was modernized. Like, they're like, oh, look at, it's a plasma screen TV this time, and the big sister likes to text on the phone.
They're on the iPad.
She's talking on the iPhone. Yeah, and they're using all these gay fucking technology shits that, like, are unrealistic, and, like, they're like, we gotta go on iPhoney to figure out the formula and shit. Like, what the fuck? He's trapped. Oh, boy. Where is he trapped? On iPhoney.
Okay.
Like that type of shit. That, like, social media can play an aspect in everything. And it's like, okay. Yeah, you're getting preachy. They're trying to add, like, undertones of, like, you know, modern society and how it's good. And I'm like, what?
Honestly, the movie was fucking terrible, in my opinion. Not only that, but it had some of the worst CGI I've seen in a movie in ages. I mean, man, it had Asylum tier CGI.
Oh, the CGI was fucking horrible.
Stood out so much. Normally I can give people a pass on CGI looking a little bad on low budget movies, but this looked worse than most Asylum movies. Like, it literally looked. And they didn't use it a whole lot, but they did the most famous scene in Poltergeist where the house blows up. Not really spoilers because the movie's 30 fucking years old. But the entire thing, like when the skeletons start coming out of the mud, is all really terrible CGI, and it looks like a fucking Scooby-Doo movie, and you're like, what the fuck is happening? Why couldn't they just dig a hole, fill it with water, and stick a skeleton in it? A prop skeleton. How much could a prop skeleton cost, realistically? $200? $300?
It's not their problem. They're not like, let's pay money. It's because they have to do effects. If someone's like, nowadays, do you think a modern audience would go to this movie and be like, oh, sweet, it's just a plastic skeleton in the water. Nothing that we find corny or shitty there. No, society today, in the way of movies, needs high-class special effects,
Oh, fuck.
But, yeah, I mean, in all honesty, was this a remake that needed to be made?
No.
How long ago was this movie made? When was the first one? 79, right?
It was later than that. It was like 81. Like, so the movie...
It's been 34 years.
It's not even like a movie from the 40s or 50s where you're like, people don't understand how society was back then and we need to modernize it, because the 80s were pretty much the same thing as now, except phones have games on them now.
I mean, when you think about it, society as a whole hasn't changed it that much at all since the 40s. We're not like, what's that? Machine! And it's a car,
yeah,
you know?
I'm just saying, you can't even attempt to make an excuse that the old one is outdated.
Not to mention, when was the last time anyone remade a movie from the 40s? Like, seriously.
Okay, I was just saying. People try to make the excuse, it's like, modern audiences just wouldn't get it anymore. We gotta make it more relevant to their taste, and then they just add iPhones.
You know what it was? They're like, wow, this was a great story. But audiences won't want to see the movie because they see the old day on it. So why don't we just put it in theaters? People have heard of Poltergeist, so it advertises itself.
You know what they should have done?
They showed that they could make it for ass cheap. Yeah, they're never going to do that. Come on. They did it for Star Wars Episode 1, and that made no money. Well, because they're dumb and started with Star Wars Episode 1. But the problem is, I mean, brass tacks, no one would have seen it. Maybe like a one-day Halloween thing, but I mean, it's not going to be worth the advertising budget and shit they put into it.
Yeah, I know.
And they would have to do a gimmick like 3D, otherwise people would be like, I'm not going to see that because I could just rent it, and it's an old movie, so I don't want to rent it. There you go. People quit and don't want to watch the movie right off the bat. Because audiences nowadays aren't good. So is it worth having this pretty good story told if you have to modernize it? Like, now does it seem a little more worthwhile? Do you think that's a rational reason to remake a movie, especially on...
No.
Oh my... that's okay.
I'd rather people just forget about good movies than make terrible remakes. Oh my god. In all honesty, this remake was just one of the worst. I don't know. There was nothing worth going to see this movie for, especially if you've seen the old one. I don't know. There was... Like, I shit on remakes a lot for not doing anything new. But, like, this movie literally did not even try to pretend to do something unique.
Oh my.
So I guess, what was your favorite and least favorite part of Poltergeist?
I don't know. I mean, my least favorite was probably the as-poor CGI. Everything new they brought to it were jump scares and CGI. That was their new contribution. And both of those things were done very shittily in this movie. That being said, I really disliked it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
My favorite part was nothing.
Oh, I didn't get to my favorite part, dude. My favorite part was when, was making fun of it and saying all the actors sucked dick, because they did. The acting was terrible, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, I think that was kind of implied just by the fact that it's a cheap horror movie.
Well, you know.
Remember
when someone might be like, they probably brought out the stops for it. You know?
Remember when famous people used to work on horror movies? Like Alien and Halloween.
I remember when famous people... Halloween didn't really have any famous people.
John Carpenter. He's a decently famous director. I mean, it was early in his career, but...
Yeah, he wasn't really famous at the time.
Steven Spielberg made Poltergeist.
Not what we call him, not Inception guy, not Matthew McConaughey. He'll become famous one day.
Highly doubt it.
I'm just saying. I mean...
Anyway.
Remember when famous people used to do the remakes of movies with unfamous people in it and how that was kind of weird?
Yeah.
That was really gay.
I don't know.
I hated the movie.
I don't know. My favorite part was that even though they kind of shat on it with all the things they did, it's still a good story, but it just made me want to watch the original. Actually, I wouldn't even say it was good in this version, because they really butchered it. Fuck.
What did they really do that butchered it, though?
The fact that they made a remake of it.
But is that a valid enough reason to shit on it and call it a bad story?
Yeah, when they add iPhones and shit, and they're like, "Hey, bro, I just bought you an iPhone."
You make a modern remake, they're not gonna not have a cell phone in it. That's a retarded excuse. I mean, this sounds like a prejudice against the movie from the start that's unavoidable for a modern remake of a movie. And then it questions our bias on why we should ever review this remake in the first place.
Oh, maybe they shouldn't have remade it. Cause
maybe they shouldn't have remade it, but that's a question you have to ask yourself. Like,
fine.
Are we qualified to review this material?
Fine. It was a great movie. I'm glad I watched it, and I'm glad it was a terrible rip-off of a good movie.
I'm not saying it was a good movie. I'm saying it was terrible. It was a hack film and everything. I'm just saying your least favorite's kind of biased on a grounds that the movie couldn't have avoided. On that basis, there's no way possibly in how this movie was good.
I didn't even get to my least
favorite. Stanley Kubrick made his...
I didn't get to my least favorite.
My favorite part was shitting on it for being a remake.
Yes, it was. It was a fucking terrible movie. You can shit on something for being a remake because it's not trying to stand on its own merits. It's trying to stand on the merits of something good that came before it. It's fucking lazy and shitty.
We paid money to see it. That's all I'm saying.
My least favorite part was the fucking terrible CGI that completely took me out of the movie. Normally, I don't bitch about CGI that much, but this was so atrociously fucking bad, like the rest of the movie, that I just fucking hated everything about it.
Oh my god, damn it. Suck my balls! Holy shit. Oh no, it didn't jump? Are you fucking cucking me? Cucky 1 to cucky 2. Oh my god, it spawned me off the cliff. I didn't touch the fucking D-pad. See that?
Why did you respawn right there?
I don't know.
I would have just waited.
Fine, there you go. I'm just gonna wait.
Oh my god. That's what I'm attempting to do.
Alright, there you go. There's a fucking review of Poltergeist. It's a piece of shit.